Oldham, Ipswich, Burnley, Brighton and Arsenal, a run that will never, ever be forgotten. Can Lincoln City make some more memorable moments this time around? It all starts here on FA Cup Day. Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Matchday Live. Lincoln City looking to make it 7 wins in a row against Forest Green Rovers in this afternoon's first round FA Cup game against Mark Cooper's side. What a show we've got lined up for you this afternoon as well. So many memorable moments to look back on between the two sides. And of course, that FA Cup run back from 16-17. Do get your questions and comments in where you're watching Matchday Live from this afternoon. Who you think might be starting for the Imps this evening as well. Plenty of changes for Michael Appleton to make. Do let us know where you're watching Matchday Live from as well. Let's welcome Gary Hutchinson to the show. Gary, not quite the magic of the FA Cup this time around, perhaps with no fans, but it's set to be a pretty interesting game.
Yeah, there's still a great aura around the competition. I mean, it's sad that we're not there. Obviously, we say it every single week. But the FA Cup's a great competition. It's an institution. It came before the Football League. It's always exciting, especially with a home draw, especially with a team who are below you. We would be expecting to turn in a good performance as well for the viewers on iFollow.
Yeah, where does a cup run this time around stand in terms of importance for Michael Appleton's side?
Well, I think it's hugely important, and I think that's from a financial point of view more than anything at all. I think I totted up that if you win in the first 3 rounds, and that's not beyond our capabilities being one of the highest ranked teams in the first 2 rounds, it could be worth up to 125 grand in prize money. And then it depends on who you draw as well, maybe television money. So it can be an incredibly lucrative competition. And I think in the current climate, the people certainly behind the scenes at the club would really like to see a cup run. Also, we've lost 2 games on a bounce, so today is a great opportunity to try and get back on the horse, get back into winning ways ahead of a nice break.
Let's get to some of your comments this afternoon. Then Kate Jackson says, Gary, 1920 called it, wants its moustache back. He's got a chance to get straight back to Kate.
Yeah, Kate can have it back in December.
Right, 2 defeats in a row for the Imps then. We know that, but no time to panic.
No, absolutely not. Look, I think we knew that there was going to be blips. I think there will be worse blips than this. Portsmouth on Tuesday, I'm sure we'll look at in a moment, we're a phenomenal side. Doncaster, again, are expected to be up there. We've had a really tough start to the season, and this is kind of the threshold now. We get past this game. We've now obviously got a break. We then go into games that I think we should be incredibly competitive in. So I think that we're in good shape despite Tuesday's result.
Let's have a look back at Tuesday's result then. And Gary, in terms of the performance, I mean, you said it yourself that the Imps came up against arguably one of the best sides in the division. Yeah,
look, it's all about this man for me, John Marquis. I mean, the way he turns Adam Jackson there, Adam Jackson's a quality defender. But Marquis just he looked a cut above. He was a constant thorn in our side all afternoon or all evening. And that's without the threat of Ronan Curtis and Marcus Harness. They were just such a good side, Portsmouth. And it's a shame because every time we've met them, we've played in form Portsmouth. We've never played the Portsmouth that's got Kenny Jackett into trouble. And Marquis, again, he struggled to score early doors. I mean, that was a great poacher's goal, sneaking in behind Jackson.
I mean, look at this move as well. I mean, the way that they just played this game, Portsmouth, you've got to say fair play to them because they set up really well, didn't they?
They did. And look, let's also factor in the fact that it was very much a makeshift defence for us. Robbie Gotts, a central midfielder, playing at right back. Sean Rowan, a centre-back, playing at left back. No Lewis Monsman, no Joe Walsh, no Max Melbourne. You do not want to be coming up against 3 or 4 of the best players at this level. At one point, I was really worried. I thought they were going to run away with it kind of 5 or 6. You know, just after they scored, there was a couple of chances. That could have, if believed, made it 4-0. But I thought that we showed great character later on in the game to come back into it. I mean, we pressed hard. We kept trying to win the ball. And other teams could have dropped. Their heads could have dropped. And I think it showed you've always got to take positives from negatives and negatives from positives. And I think when you look at the last 20 minutes, we proved that in actual fact, there's not all that much between the teams, except 1 or 2 players that are worth £2 or £3 million.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Though that with this Lincoln City side, their heads are never going to drop to the point where they're going to concede 4 or 5. They have a manager that knows how to set up, even at a time where they might go down 2-0 early on or something like that. They will stay calm, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't believe that last season. I think last season when we were under pressure, we always looked like we might fold like a deck of cards. Oxford, I know it was obviously before Michael came. So I think that there is a certain resilience there. And look, these are young players as well. And I think it's harder sometimes to motivate a young player when they're getting a footballing lesson, or it would seemingly be harder. But I thought that some of those youngsters showed great character. There's no secret Robbie Gotts had a tough debut, but he stuck at it. He kept trying. He kept his head going forward. Sean Rowan had a tough afternoon. We've already seen what he's made of at 17 years old. So these defeats are going to happen. We're in a division where there is a great big chasm between the haves and the have-nots. We faced one of the haves, and in arguably our next couple of league games are against the have-nots. They're the games we've got to be winning.
What about today's team news, Gary, then? Are you expecting Michael to make quite a few changes? He's given us a few ideas, hasn't he, in his press conference yesterday?
Yeah, I'm expecting some changes. I don't think you can make widespread changes. I don't think, for instance, we would see Zach El-Bouzedi or Remy Howarth starting, because an EFL trophy game, we can afford to be a little bit more, dare I say, blasé about our lineup. This is a must-win game. This is an important game. You do not want to lose against lower league opposition on your own ground in the FA Cup first round. Expect to see first teamers play. I think Theo Archibald, he's been on the cusp. He'll almost certainly start. Anthony Scully will almost certainly start. I would like to see Robbie Gotts start. And the permutations across the back are numerous. So despite having Monsma out, despite having Joe Walsh out, we've got so many options across the back there that it's going to be hard to call who the back four actually are.
Well, in terms of today's fixture, it is, of course, one that's brought great joy to Lincoln City fans over the years, hasn't it? Here's a reminder of one key one in particular.
Wishart's with players arriving in the middle, great ball over, and there's the opener, superbly taken by Christian Deutsch. Marsh Brown's gone for the return here, and he's got there first. It's a great chance to make it two. He tried to be unselfish. He saw Elliot Freer getting up in support. Might have gone alone there, Marsh Brown.
Well, this is an unbelievable through ball from Leon Noble, but the man of his quality, I really thought he'd go for goal himself.
Elliot Freer, an England C international. And Marsh Brown! He's done it again! A man for the big occasion. He just loves doing it in front of the TV cameras. But they're certainly chasing it now, the Red Imps. Given away cheaply here to Nathan Arnold. Can they hit back? Oh, he's still Arnold. He's made the room for the shot. Brilliant. And Woodyard! They're back in it! First time finish from Alex Woodyard. It's his first goal for Lincoln City. His first for anyone since November of 2015. The Red Imps are back in business.
Well, they capitalise on the mistake. Maybe looking at Sinclair to let Arnold cut in on his right foot. Pinnock does enough to stop it. But that's quality from the midfielder. Alex Woodyard to follow in, calmly finish it into the net. Gives his side a real lifeline now.
On the headers towards goal and just kept out by Farman. Pinnock it was who rose inside the area. Traore to have a go.
This is an unbelievable save, it really is. Sees it so late as well.
They're on the verge here. Forest Green Rovers of going 12 points clear at the top of the table. If they can hold on to what they have, they've still got to get to the end here though, and it's in! Amazing! Waterfall, the captain, has driven it home, leading by example. Forest Green couldn't hold out. Lincoln never gave in, and there's their reward. 2-2 at the New Lawn.
Well, credit to that man there, that his side never ever given up in this second half.
5 minutes of added time. Hold on to your hats. Habergam is across to take the corner. So many forward into a great area. No wonder they celebrate so wildly. Who knows where this could take them? Lincoln lead 3-2.
Well, what an incredible end to an incredible game.
Gary, I'm going to try and get through this bit without mentioning how much we miss fans at the moment. I mean, where does that game rank in the history of Lincoln City matches?
I'm sat here with goosebumps. I'm almost welling up. I remember it well. It was my 38th birthday. We looked dead and buried, but it was the first time that we got a real glimpse of the spirit that later saw us beat Burnley, that later saw us beat Ipswich. You know, that never say die attitude. I mean, just watching it back again, I haven't watched the whole highlights for a long while, but that was an iconic win. As iconic for me that season as any of the FA Cup games as well. And the feeling when that third goal went in was just utter joy. That's why we're football fans for matches like that. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, the commentary from Adam Sutton and Virgo as well was absolutely brilliant. There was some key lines in there, but one of them actually that stands out to me watching the game back is the moment where he says Forest Green within a verge of going 12 points clear at the top of the National League table. That brings it home, doesn't it? Just how close they were to promotion and the automatic promotion spots, and of course Lincoln pipping them in the end.
Yeah, certainly at that time. You know, I mean, we all talk, we won the National League title. They were chasing us in the latter stages of the season. But the period where we had the FA Cup run was also a phenomenal period in terms of league results. I mean, we were relentless in going out and getting results. I remember after beating Ipswich, we had Dover at Sincil Bank. I think it was on the Thursday or Friday night. Might have been after the draw. And we had to win there. And don't forget, Dover had Ricky Miller. They were a great side as well. And when you look at the players there that have scored for Forest Green, your Christian Doidges, your Carno Marsh-Browns, I mean, these were established players that should have been playing in the Football League at the time. They were 9 points clear. They could have gone 12 points clear. They should have run away with it. But we talk about the character that our side has got this season. I think that you saw there, with the greatest of respect, that Mark Cooper's side in 2016-17 didn't have that same character when the pressure was on.
With that in mind, then, is it actually a very different game this afternoon with the way that Lincoln are now playing, in terms of they're playing some really nice football, but actually could that go slightly against them if we're playing devil's advocate here, in the sense that Mark Cooper arguably prefers to play against sides like that?
Yeah, it's an absolutely great point, and it's one that has slightly concerned me a little bit, because Forest Green do play great football, and the side that they've got now do have really good players in. They might not have a Doidge as a kind of a focal point up front. They've got Jamil Matt, who's perhaps not as prolific, but they will like to play football. They'll be delighted to have got Lincoln, because they know they're going to get a game where the ball's on the deck, where the opposition are going to play out from the back. It's very much like for like. What we're banking on this afternoon is something completely different to arguably to all of the wins against Forest Green, all the 6 wins in a row that we've achieved against them, because that's always been one style versus another. The Matt Reeds and the John Akindis battering away at the defence. This is going to be very, very different. What we're banking on today is the fact we're a League One side. We've got League One players. We're hoping to do it better than they do.
Steve O'Dare says, I see no reason for changes today. Gillingham game postponed. No game after this. Forgetting we've got a fortnight. Play the strongest team possible. And Kate says, remember watching that game in the office at work, and my colleagues couldn't understand why I suddenly went mental. Yeah, don't blame you, Kate. And Owen says, Sam, you should grow your moustache like Gary's. Owen, I would if I could. Right, so we've seen a key game against Forest Green Rovers from the 16-17 era. Here's a few more to whet the appetite ahead of today.
For Lincoln. Ellis, no foul, angle, 1-1. Lee Angle with the equaliser for Lincoln. It's not really a lot in there, but when it falls to Lee Angle, it's a brilliant finish from him, composed. You told him as a centre-half, you know that ball to bounce, it causes you problems. He's worked tirelessly and tirelessly. That's a brilliant finish. Crossing opportunity. It's got it. Own goal for Kelly. And Lincoln from 1 down. Lead 2-1. Here he comes. Oh, and he's found the way through. Sam Hannigan with what could be a golden goal in the bigger picture.
Yeah, another great tune by Gazelle there, Where Nothing Ever Happens. There was a lot going on there, wasn't there, Gary? I think one of the things that stands out for me is just how many goal involvements, to coin an American phrase there, have to let me off one for David Johnson, is how often Harry Anderson played a big part in a lot of those goals.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the very first game we saw there, which was the 3-1 win at the end of the 2016-17 season, I think Harry had just returned from his second loan spell, or for his second loan spell, came on as a substitute. The gut-busting run when we came back into the Football League on a really wet night up at Nailsworth was phenomenal as well. I think what it showed me was they're all iconic moments. Even the playoff season, there were iconic moments for Lincoln City. For some reason, there's this rivalry built up, and I'm sure it all stems from the final National League season, because before that, there was plenty of other games, the 3-3 draw at their place where we were 3-0 up with about 20 minutes to go. But ever since Mark Cooper's taken over, there seems to have been this really real rivalry ramped up, and it just paints a great scene for this afternoon.
Let's get to some more of your comments then. Mark Williams says, here's to a good game today and a meaty win for the Imps. I won't have to endure a half-time nettle and geranium chocolate bar as I did last time I went to Forest Green. Fair one, Mark. I think some vegetarians might disagree with you on that one, but good to have you with us this afternoon. Terry says, thanks for putting the show on weekly. It helps create the whole matchday experience, which is almost important as the game. Doing our best for you, Terry. I know you'd much rather be at the LNER Stadium, no doubt about that. But of course, hopefully you enjoy this afternoon's game as well. Gary, let's talk about a couple of the moments then from those games, and John Akinde as well. I mean, what a brilliant lob that was. Brilliant penalty as well, but the lob itself was quite a goal.
Yeah, the lob was a superb goal, and that came actually after a goalless run for John, and a lot of his critics had started to get on his back at the time. I understand some of the criticism about his game, but I think when he was on form, he was a wonderful striker for us. We didn't see it all the time. Remember, that was another huge game, because at the time, both teams were playoff chasing. And I think, I can't remember if they actually finished in the playoffs that year. Potentially, I think they probably didn't. But John was, that goal was a big goal for us. Keanu Marsh-Brown, I think, Reece Brown had scored for them. They were excellent that afternoon. That was the one game out of all of the recent ones where they should have won. They outplayed us, they outfought us, but they didn't outbelieve us. Yeah,
in terms of Mark Cooper, Forest Green, I mean, what we have to say for Mark Cooper is the fact that he's done well or Forest Green have kept it on him, haven't they? They've kept him in the job at times where perhaps Forest Green weren't playing that well, and then vice versa. He's probably had offers to go elsewhere, and he stayed at the club. So we have to salute them for that.
Yeah, we do. Our history with Mark Cooper goes back to Kettering 2007-8 when he was manager there, and they were giant killers. I believe he was heavily linked with the move to us whilst he was at Darlington, and their manager at the time wouldn't let him leave. Again, Mark Cooper is a part of the rivalry for the kind of the personality that he is. Perhaps doesn't always gel particularly well with opposition fans, and there have been certain instances, I think, where people would comment on. But you're quite right. In terms of longevity, you have to respect Forest Green for one, sticking with him, because they were relatively big spenders. They still are. And when you spend money and don't get success, you can get in the Mansfield kind of frame of mind where they sacked Flitcroft for failing in the playoff final. Forest Green haven't done that, so it's respect to them for that, and respect to Mark Cooper for sticking by his principles, continuing to play football the right way.
Yeah, well said. So that's a little bit of chat about Mark Cooper. Let's have a look at what Michael Appleton had to say then, speaking at the Soap of Lincoln EPC earlier this week.
I think I've said it before, Rob. It means a lot to me. I mean, I've been quite fortunate as a player a couple of times, going a couple of decent runs. I've certainly been on some very good runs as a manager. Quarterfinals with Blackburn, 5th round, 4th round with Oxford, coming from obviously all the rounds from the first round. So, and it's been enjoyable, and sometimes it can, give a little bit of spirit to a football club when it needs it. And obviously, because we're going through this terrible time at the minute with the pandemic and COVID, sometimes a good cup run can lift everyone's spirits.
You mentioned there you've had a good cup runs in the past in this competition. You've obviously had great runs in the trophy as well. Is there a secret to having a good cup run, do you think?
I don't know, Rob, to be honest. I think, I really do treat every game the same. It's one of them where it's not yes, you might make changes and you might give people an opportunity, but the way I go about it, I don't go into it any less thinking, oh, well, there's not 3 points up for grab here. It's, for me, I just see it as an opportunity rather than a hindrance. So I know a lot of people up and down the country at times probably see it as a hindrance, but I just see it as an opportunity to win a game of football. And, that's what we all want to do. And for a club, if we can get through a couple of rounds, I'm sure every club's the same, and think that, there's an opportunity to play one of the big boys. You want to pit your wits against anybody, and the bigger the better. So, I think it's more of a mindset and an attitude thing, just knowing that, listen, this is just as important as like Tuesday was against Portsmouth.
Forest Green, what have you made of what you've seen of them?
Good side, and like I said, obviously I've come up against Mark a couple of times when he was Swindon manager, and it was obviously a little bit different to a degree because obviously Oxford-Swindon's a little bit of a rivalry, as we know, but no, obviously they play good football, and having said that, you're looking at the clips and looking at the games, they do get the ball forward quickly into Jamal Matt, which is a little bit different to what I've been used to with some of Mark's teams in the past. But we have to deal with that. We have to make sure that we're competitive and make sure that we stay strong and keep our structure nice and tight.
We know obviously the injury issues are not going to clear up for Saturday. How important will it be for TJ and Adam to build their partnership over the coming weeks, because they will be the regular centre halves, I'm guessing?
Yeah, we've still got a few issues this morning that we need to sort out on top of everything else. So I don't want to give too much away at this moment in time. But when people use the words bare bones, we're round about that at the minute. So it's a big 24 hours for us. Hopefully we can turn one or two of them round and be able to put a side out.
Bare bones, Gary. I mean, this is where managers earn their money, isn't it? When they have to make choices like Michael Appleton is probably going to have to make in around about 5 minutes' time when we read out the team news.
Yeah, it's actually quite concerning, and I think the fact that Gillingham has been cancelled off is absolutely brilliant, because obviously after this we then have a 2-week layoff until going into the Accrington and Swindon double header. It is concerning when you think about the players that we have definitely not got playing for us, the Callum Mortons and the Joe Walshes. They would almost certainly have been involved. Callum would more or less have started up front. You then look at some of the doubts. I think Jamie Saul is currently a doubt. You've got Lewis Monsmer out as well. There's a few knocks about the squad. And so I think that there's going to be a real quandary for Michael, because he is going to want to win the game. He is going to want to go as strong as possible. But at the same time, he has got to bear in mind that he doesn't want to exasperate an injury. And looking back at the clips a minute ago, Sam Habergan, for instance, there for me is an example of a player who exasperated an injury and then unfortunately later in his career really struggled. And Michael won't want to make anybody any worse. Liam Bridcut, again, leader and captain, almost certainly out. It's... when I say it's concerning, we've got enough players to put a competitive team out this afternoon. That's reflective of how well we did in the summer, but it doesn't mean that you don't miss the key players.
How important is it then that we know that this Lincoln City squad have versatile play? And we spoke to Jez George earlier in the week at the fans forum, and I mean, he's very diplomatic. And when I think I said that some of the decisions that he made were genius, really. But actually, when you look at it now and the changes that Michael may well have to make today, versatility is going to be key. And that's what this side have.
Yeah, we've got very few players that you could pigeonhole as one position, and that's all over the field. So you look up top, the Brennan Johnsons can play wide, can play central, Anthony Scully wide, central, Teo Eden, a left back, central midfield, Robbie Gotts, right back, central midfield. So it's absolutely vital, because if you lose one person, the team can kind of mould almost like a liquid, ice cubes in an ice cube mould. Every time there's a gap, the liquid will just flow in. And so although it does mean that potentially you're weakening the overall 11 because players are not in their key positions, it also means that you are confident that you're not playing somebody blatantly out of position. And the classic example of that, I think, is Robbie Gotts from Tuesday night. I'm excited to see Gotts play in a central midfield position. I sincerely hope that's where he plays today, because he looks like he's got great quality on the ball. But the fact is that TJ Ioma had to move into central midfield. So Robbie Gotts, central defence, I beg your pardon. So Robbie Gotts moved into right back. And he wasn't massively out of place. He had a tough afternoon. TJ Ioma, brilliant at right back, better probably at centre half. Sean Rowan, the same. So I think it's really interesting. I think that the recruitment has been very, very purposeful. And some people might have looked at versatility players and think of somebody like James Milner, whose versatility I think went against him in the long run. You never knew quite where he was the right player. But for Lincoln City in the here and now, versatility is going to be key to success, certainly in this competition and going forward in the league.
Yeah, in terms of this competition as well, Gary, we know that Michael loves a cut run. And isn't it great to have a manager, as we did, of course, with Danny Cowley as well, that really appreciates the value of a cut run? There's no doubt that Michael does in the sides that he's managed before, that he does take that into consideration, as opposed to hearing a manager in a pre-match press conference say, I wish this game wasn't on the horizon. I just want to focus on the league.
100%. Look, if I heard a manager of Lincoln City say that the FA Cup was not important, he would go down severely in my estimations. This is a massive competition with great history that's admired throughout the world. You have to take it seriously. You can make a change or two, and try something a little bit different because you're playing a team that's from a lower level. And certainly if you're a League One side going up against somebody like Stourbridge, you might choose to mix it up. But what we've got with Michael is a manager that treats every game the same. And I know the EFL trophy is a really controversial trophy, but we're on for a run in that. Let's not forget, we've already qualified there. So the game coming up against Manchester City Kids a week on Tuesday will be a weakened side. It'll be a chance to play players like Remy Howarth, like Zach Elbouzedi, maybe Hayden Cann will get a start. But Michael will know that he could get a run in that, running the FA Cup, and it all means money. And that is what makes football go round right now. We need it to survive. Let's not make any bones about the fact football is in a dire position. Cup runs can help bridge the gap.
Absolutely. I should just say a big, big thank you to our match sponsors, the Lincoln Tow Bar and Mobility Centre. Much appreciated having your support, especially during these tough times as well. That is Lincoln Tow Bar and Mobility Centre. Right, it is 2:00, which means we can go pitch side to the LNER Stadium with Alan Long.
Hi, Sam. Yeah, welcome pitch side as always. It's an exciting day, isn't it? FA Cup comes around every year. We love it. I've got the teams here in front of me, so I'm going to start off with today's visitors from Forest Green. So in goal for Rovers is number 24, Lewis Thomas. Then at 2, it's Kane Wilson. 4 is Daniel Sweeney. 6, Liam Kitchen. 7, Carl Winchester. 9, Matthew Stevens. 11 is Nicky Cadden. Odin Bailey is at 17. 18 is Jake Young. Name we all know, number 20, Elliot Whitehouse. And 22 is Oduka Goodwin Malaifi. On the bench for Forest Green today, number 1 is Luke McGee. At 5 is Chris Stokes. 8 is Abrima Adams. 10, Aaron Collins. 14, Jamil Matt. 15, Jordan Moore Taylor. And Josh March is at number 28. Well, there's 4 changes for you and Gary to talk about. So here we go with the Imps lineup. In goal is number 1, Alex Palmer. At 3, Max Melbourne. At 5, Adam Jackson. At 7, Teo Eden. 10 is George Grant. Number 11, Anthony Scully. 14, Theo Archibald. 20, Brennan Johnson. Robbie Gotts is at 24. 26, Harry Anderson. And 30, Sean Rowan. On the bench for the Imps today, 29, Ethan Ross. 8, James Jones. Number 9, Tom Hopper. 18, Conor McGrandles. 22, TJ Ioma. 25, Zach Elbouzedi. And number 33, Hayden Cann. Today's referee is Samuel Barrott. And the assistants, Wayne Grinnell and Connor Brown. And the 4th official is Daniel Middleton. That's the teams. Lots for you guys to talk about. Back to you in the studio, Sam.
Thanks very much indeed, Al. Yeah, certainly so. Lots to talk about. And Gary, let's get straight to it. 4 changes for the Imps. Let's start with the back 4.
Well, again, I mean, it's down to interpretation. One would imagine that's Harry Anderson at right back. Adam Jackson, Sean Rowan in the centre of defence and Max Melbourne on the left. So first of all, great to see Max back. You've got to get the walking wounded back sooner rather than later. I think he's our first choice left back. And also it frees up Sean Rowan there to drop into left centre back. We know Sean's a tough customer. He's been put on standby for the Ireland under-21 side. He's 17 years old. That underlines his potential. So it's superb that he's going to get a start in his favoured position. I think it's probably Harry Anderson over Robbie Gotts at the back. Harry, I thought, did really well when he came on at right back on Tuesday night. I also think when he's at right back, it improves our attacking options because he's a very attacking-minded player. So yeah, that's certainly the back 4. Central midfield, obviously, you've got George Grant as captain. I would imagine it's then Teo Eden and Robbie Gotts. Lots of Leeds United fans will be very excited to see Robbie Gotts start in central midfield. And personally, I quite like Teo Eden in central midfield as well. So it's certainly a very ball-playing, passing-focused central midfield. Relatively inexperienced. It ended up got to playing together, but it should be really interesting.
Yeah, what a huge opportunity for both Teo and Robbie then, because central midfield is one of the positions that has been so stable in terms of easy decisions for Michael Appleton to make this season, and no doubt why, but they must just be licking their lips this afternoon with the opportunity to pull the strings in the middle of the LNER Stadium midfield today. Yeah,
absolutely. I think probably Robbie got more than Teo. I mean, Teo's going to be hungry to get out there and impress for the side that he belongs to. I think it's his preferred position. He's very busy and industrious. You know, Robbie Gotts has been very patient. Marcelo Bielsa, one of the very best managers in the business, says that he's an excellent number 8, really rates his endeavour, but he's never had a chance at senior level to show what he can do at that position. He'll be frustrated, I think, a little bit with his performance on Tuesday night because he had a tough time, not through particularly his own fault, but the players he came up against as well. So it's a massive chance for him to now stake a claim. And, you know, James Jones and Conor McGrandle's taking well-deserved rests. James Jones in particular has been, you know, virtually ever-present, really, really industrious player. But they'll be sat on the sidelines watching two really hungry young players stake a claim as well. So from a squad point of view, I think that it's a positive move.
Front three then, Gary. Scully, Johnson, Archibald. What are you expecting from that?
Well, we're almost certain it'll be Archibald on the left-hand side, and regular viewers of the programme will know that I talk about him more than I talk about any other Lincoln City player. Massively excited to see him start because I think in terms of what he offers on the flank, he's very much like Brennan Johnson. You know, he's direct, he will get at you, he's got an awful lot of talent and natural skill. You know, he was brought up at Celtic, he came through the Celtic youth team. He is a quality footballer, and I can't wait to see what he can do. Scully and Johnson, I think there'll be some debate there as to who will start centrally and who will start on the right, because actually they're interchangeable. Scully started on the right recently, obviously on Tuesday night. Brennan Johnson is a real handful through the centre. And remember, Forest Green, as far as I am aware, will be playing 3 across the back today. They play like a 3-4-2-1 or something along those lines. So I think it's going to be, you know, we're going to need to be running in the channels quite a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised at Johnson through the centre and Scully, who's a player that will cut inside just as much as go outside, looking to try and narrow that defence a little bit for our wing backs to get on the outside of them.
Going to be very interesting to see, isn't it? Of course, you can get your match pass by going to www.weareimps.com/iFollow. That's if you live domestically, you can get that. Otherwise, I believe you can listen to commentary on weareimps.com as well. Of course, it is FA Cup first round day. So many memories for Lincoln City over the most recent years. Let's have a look back at some of them now.
He's played it through. This is the chance. It's Arnold.
Robinson! The Lincolnshire poacher! It's come to Hawkridge, and Hawkridge is through! It's 2-0 Lincoln! In a flash! Pounced upon by Arnold, over the top for Theo Robinson! 3-0 Lincoln! Catch them if you can! They saw it through. This Lincoln loco is not for stopping.
Proper FA Cup night in the east of England, deep in Lincolnshire.
With the underdogs at home having got a fantastic result in the first game, and now everybody's anticipating what could be a big shock.
4 minutes, we're told, will be added on. It's next goal wins time. First goal wins.
Any goal wins.
Lincoln on the break. Marriott has support. He's played it through. This is the chance. It's Arnold! Lincoln at the very end surely have booked themselves a place in round 4. Brighton kick from right to left in this first half at Sincil-Bank in the more luminous of the two kits. Lincoln in their traditional red and white. Huge moment for Power, who turned 29 earlier this week. Late birthday present for him as he drives Lincoln back into the game.
So certainly it's all Lincoln at the moment.
Feels like he needs to change something. Here goes Arnold. Good ball in from Arnold, and Tamori on his first professional start scores an own goal that puts Lincoln City in front.
16 left in it, 8 from the Premier League, 4 from the Championship, Millwall and Oxford from League One, and uniquely 2 from below stairs. Read his natural target. 90 seconds on the clock. Habergan. Back across the face of goal. It's chaos! Is it in? Is it in? Goal given! Sean Redden for Lincoln City! The Lincolnshire poacher! Extreme! Imperious Imps! They've gone and done it! Right at the end of Turfmoor! 5 millimetres! 3,500 could have been 7,000. Sounded like 70,000.
So away we go. What an occasion. The invasion of North London. Flicks Woodyard, via a deflection. Here's Arnold again. Muldoon in the centre. It's still Arnold. And Petacek makes the save. And what a good effort by Nathan Arnold. Oh, terrific skill. And it must be 5, surely. It certainly is. Ramsey's got his goal. Support from the Lincoln supporters has been nothing short of magnificent. But the cup run of the Imps has come to an end here at the Emirates.
Yeah, goosebumps is a term that often comes up on Matchday Live. And Gary, just watching all that back, it brings back so many brilliant memories, and of course the goosebumps as well. Where do you even start with a run like that?
Well, not for the first time, I'm feeling a little bit emotional, to be honest. You start at the beginning and the Oldham game, which really did change everything. It was a surreal night, and it was ethereal when the fog came down. Obviously, we went 3-0 up. We were hanging on for our life. All of Lincoln were watching on the television as well. I think there's 7,000 there. Everything changed after that. Everything. I think the game before that, we'd got 3,000 or 4,000 in. I don't think we've dipped below 8,000 since. And after that, I mean, it was storybook stuff. The Ipswich game, obviously, we took such a huge amount of fans to Ipswich, and it all felt right. And even going into the Emirates and walking up those stairs at the end, I thought we could get a result. And then I heard names like Özil and Giroud and Ramsey, and then that was when it hit home what we'd actually achieved. I don't watch the Arsenal game. I don't refer to the Arsenal game. The cup run for me ended at Burnley, because that was the moment. That was the moment for me that was just will be with me for a lifetime.
Yeah, isn't it just great that we have that now? I mean, you'd love to relive it again. And of course, when the fans are able to come back, and you hope that, as Lincoln City fans, we can see another cup run. But to be able to hark back to it, at least that sort of softens the blow slightly with everything that's going on maybe at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's once in a lifetime stuff. We will have cup runs again. We will never have a cup run again where we were a National League side going to a team that had won Champions League wins and in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup. It won't happen again, because I would hope that we won't be in that position again. But, it was unprecedented. I think it was the first time in 125 years or something like that, or 100 years, that a non-league team had got that far. And the Burnley win, we were such underdogs, and I would hope that we will not be underdogs like that again. But to be able to look back on it, people now who were there, who were 18 or 19, they will be telling their grandchildren about how they were watching that game, how they were at Burnley, how they watched Back in the Fan Zone, how they saw Nathan Arnold round the Ipswich goalkeeper. That's how iconic the results and the games actually were.
And not just that, it did bring the city together, didn't it? There were non-footballing fans that got behind the FA Cup run, even if perhaps they weren't necessarily getting behind the league in one sense. Those were the games, weren't they? The Oldhams, the Brightons of this world, where fans actually turned up to the LNER and realised about the brilliant atmosphere that the fans can offer here too.
100%. I got my first writing job writing about the FA Cup game, and I tried to then sell myself for the next league game, and they weren't interested. It was all about the FA Cup. The whole city did gel. Look, at one point in 2014-15, even Lincoln fans didn't particularly like Lincoln City. Chris Moyses came in and helped change that. He brought the fans back together. He galvanised the fans. But for a club to grow, you need to then go outside of that fan base. The FA Cup run, and in particular, the results, I think, against Ipswich and Oldham, really sparked other people's imaginations. People who had been outside of the club, people who hadn't got on the Moyes mission train and had been observing from afar, were now looking at Lincoln City, not with contempt and not with derision, which a lot of people in Lincoln did, but they were now looking and going, actually, we might have a football club we could be proud of here. And here we are, 4 or 5 seasons on. We do have a football club that we can be proud of. Those moments are where it started for a lot of fans.
Tony Ruby says, I've got something in my eye again. Yeah, emotional times. Tony, good to have you with us this afternoon. Steve says, gee, up, suddenly got cold here on the coast. That gave me the shivers. John Rose, let's go Imps. You've got this. Plenty of comments coming in from Cornell as well. Nathan Arnold, winner against Ipswich Town. One of the greatest memories as an Imps fan for me. Yeah, quite unbelievable, wasn't it? We're going to be chatting to a reporter from the Gloucestershire Live about all things Forest Green shortly. This is what Mark Cooper had to say when speaking about the Imps.
Yes, we don't ever really sit with you too well with the draws we get. Tough game for us. Obviously, when it was drawn, they were the top-ranked team. Lincoln had a really good start to the season. It's going to be a tough game for us, but no, we're lucky to be still working and playing, so we're looking forward to it.
And you described it as a bit of a free hit. Obviously, they are a side near the top of League One. You're a side near the top of League Two. It's going to be quite a good footballing spectacle, isn't it?
It should be. I mean, both teams like to try and get the ball down and play and create chances. So yeah, I've watched a couple of their games, been really impressed with what they're doing, and I'm sure they're going to have a good season. So yes, it should be a good game.
And what are Lincoln like as a footballing side?
Good football team. Easy on the eye, they're organised, positionally good with their rotation, and yeah, looking forward to the game.
Yeah, it looks quite chilly there, doesn't he, Mark Cooper? But good to hear complimentary words from the Forest Green Rovers manager. Let's now bring in Gloucestershire Live reporter Laurie Whiteman. Laurie, good to see you this afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. How would you assess your side's start to the season?
It's been very good, actually. You know, the end of last season, we struggled. I think it was 20 points from 20 games towards the end of last season. But this season started really well. The recruitment's been good. We lost a lot of players, but bringing in players like, Jamil, Matt, Nicky Cadden, they've all settled in really well. And obviously we find ourselves third in League Two at the moment. And hopefully we can maintain a push towards the top 3 towards the end of the season.
We've chatted a lot about Mark Cooper on this show. From your point of view, what sort of job has he done?
Well, I mean, he was under pressure towards the end of last season, that's for sure. I mean, there were definitely fans that wanted him out. The football wasn't pretty at times. He hasn't always had a great relationship with the fans either. But he's been given this season. It's the last year of his contract as well. So you'd imagine he'll just see that out. And it's basically a free hit at promotion. He's made a lot of changes to the squad again. Tweaked the playing style slightly as well. We're a bit more direct, like to get a lot of crosses into the box. We haven't been like that in previous seasons. So, I think fans are just willing to give him a chance this season and just see how it goes. And then that's the end of the 5-year contract. And I'm sure, if he succeeds and we get promoted this season, then maybe a new contract offer will be on the table. But we'll wait and see.
We've obviously got one of our Wembley heroes, Elliot Whitehouse, who won us the EFL trophy. How's he settled with you, and what do you see him adding to your squad?
It's been difficult for Whitehouse, I think, because he came from Grimsby with a 6-game suspension hanging over his head, and it must be really difficult to settle into a squad when you miss out on, that's a big chunk of the season, basically. So far, he's been good. He's played a couple of games, not started that many, but I think he's been brought in just as much for his off-pitch influence as well as what he can bring onto it. I think he only turned 27 last week. He's still relatively young in footballing years, but, won promotion with you guys with that title win. Had a playoff campaign in League Two as well, scored the winning goal in the Checkatrade Trophy final. This guy has been there and done it. And I think, one of the reasons he was brought in was to come in and sort of tutor the younger players. And I think he'll prove to be a valuable addition as the season goes on.
Laurie, take us back to November 2018. I know you were here at the LNER Stadium to watch a very tight game, a good game as well. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I remember walking away very frustrated from that one because I thought Forest Green played so well that day. Came into it and Lincoln were a bogey team for us. Couldn't seem to get the better of them. They'd beaten us in our last 4. And we played so well. We couldn't have done much more. Reece Brown had a brilliant game, but we conceded 2 really sloppy goals that day. It was Gavin Gunning, our centre-back, with a couple of horrendous mistakes, really. And, of course, we had Theo Archibald as well, who played well. I remember he had a shot over the bar in that game. And it was just a shame because I think it was a story of that season for us, really. Playing some nice football, but, maybe lacking a little bit of cutting edge and maybe being a little bit too soft defensively as well. But, that was a frustrating one that day because I thought Forest Green definitely deserved to come away with a rare result at Sincil Bank.
Yeah, Theo's a player that I know Gary really likes as well. Gary, I think you got a question.
Yeah, again, obviously Theo I thought was outstanding for you that day, Laurie. I just wonder what your impressions of him were during the duration of his loan spell.
Yeah, it was a weird one with Theo because he was supposed to be with us for the whole season, but he actually went back to Brentford in the January, and it was a bit annoying because I always felt he had something to offer. He's just a really old-fashioned winger, I guess, in the fact that he's just very quick and looks to run at players and get to the byline. He's got a really fierce shot on him as well. So it frustrated me when he went back, to be honest, because in the latter parts of the season, we had a small squad that season. It felt like he had something to offer. But for me, an impressive player. Absolutely no surprise to me that he went to Macclesfield and did well and got a move up to League One. Well, again, I'm sure he'll do very well for Lincoln.
Got live scenes from the LNER Stadium here, Laurie, as well. In terms of your team, we could just see them in the background there towards the Cathedral end and the Stacey West stand. What do you make of your side starting lineup this afternoon?
I'm not surprised that changes have been made. We've had, it's been a hectic schedule for everyone, hasn't it? Saturday, Tuesday. Some of our players really needed a rest. So I'm not at all surprised to see that. Obviously, Ebu Adams, who's arguably our best player, sits out of this one. Jamil Matt's played every single game. He sits out as well. So it's just I think it's going to be an interesting one for me to watch because there's some players in this team like Matty Stevens, Lewis Thomas, who haven't seen an awful lot of football this season. I think Cooper, what he'll want most from this game is to see a performance out of the fringe players. It's a difficult game for us. I'm sure he'll want to win the game, but if he comes away with a performance from, a good team performance, I'm sure he'll be happy.
Can we talk a little bit about playing style then? Because Gary rightly mentioned towards the top of the show that Forest Green Rovers under Mark Cooper play some really good football. It's always been his philosophy there. Michael Appleton as well, for Imps so far this season. So do you expect an open, expansive game today?
Yeah, I think so. And that's definitely what we saw the game we were just talking about at Sincil Bank in 2018. Forest Green came and played, got the ball down. Lincoln a little bit different in their style, but still played some nice football that day. And I think we'll see that again today. Forest Green Mark Cooper doesn't really change for anyone. He likes to stick to his style, stick to his philosophy, especially away from home. That's where we have the most of the ball, really, because at home, some teams will come and keep the ball so we can't hurt them. So I'd expect, again, it's against... we're against high quality opposition today, but I'd still expect us to have lots of the ball. And I'm looking forward to seeing this Lincoln side. Actually, it's the first time we've played them post Danny Cowley, so it will be interesting to see how that playing style has developed. So yeah, I'd expect an open game and probably one with a few goals as well.
Few goals indeed then, Laurie. Just finish on a score prediction. Who do you think will take it and move into the second round of the FA Cup, and scorers as well?
I think it's a frustrating one for us that we've got such a tough draw. Unfortunately, I think we will come away with a defeat, a 2-1 defeat. I think Matty Stevens will score for us. He's been on fire. Maybe Theo Archibald will get one for Lincoln, and George Grant as well.
Fingers crossed indeed. Very diplomatic of you, but great to have you on the show this afternoon. That's Laurie Whiteman from Gloucestershire Live. Much appreciated, Laurie.
Thank you very much for having me. Cheers.
Great to hear the opposition thoughts there, the thoughts of Laurie Whiteman. Right, let's go to the Lincoln City team news once again. Then I'll read it out for you in full. I know you can see it below on the ticker there, but plenty of changes for Michael Appleton this afternoon. He's made 4. Alex Palmer in goal, keeps his place. Then it's Max Melman back at left back, Adam Jackson, Theo Eden, George Grant, Anthony Scully, Theo Archibald, Brennan Johnson, Robbie Gotts, Harry Anderson and Sean Rowan. It's Ethan Ross, James Jones has a rest, Tom Hopper, Conor McGrandle's a rest as well, TJ Ioma, Zach El-Bazedi and Hayden Cann comes to the bench as well. And Gary, I'll go straight to you with regards to Hayden Cann as well, because a nice big afternoon for him getting some first team experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw it with a lot of the young players during the cup run as well. I think if you look at the bench, sometimes we had some of those youngsters on. I've actually got Richard Walton's shirt from one of the FA Cup games. So it's nice for them to be involved. Hayden, I think, will be really keen to actually get game time against Manchester City in a couple of weeks' time. So this is probably just a nice introduction to back into the first team setup.
What about Sean Rowan then? Because we just know how versatile he is. With the kind of personality that he has, 17 years old, to be able to play in just about every position or across the back four is impressive.
Yeah, it is. What I quite like about Sean, he's got this no-nonsense approach. And looking back at some of those clips, another player that had it was Sean Raggett. Sean Raggett never smiled. He scored the goal against Burnley, and he had that same look on his face. And I see a little bit of that kind of determination in Sean Rowan that, you know, he'll put everything on the line. He's only a youngster. I appreciate that. I don't want to build him up too much. But when he comes with the versatility, you know, he's playing in his preferred position today. I thought he was excellent against Mansfield in the EFL Trophy. Being put on standby for Ireland under-21s when he's 17, that's massive as well. You know, we've got a real diamond on our hands, dare I say a rough diamond. And I think he's going to be a big player for us. Tough afternoon. Matt Stevens has scored. I think he scored 5 in 7 for Forest Green. I think he scored 3 in his last 3 for them as well. Striker I really liked at Barnet and at Peterborough. He's going to be a real live wire. Great chance for Sean to impress further.
When we reacted to the team news just after 2 o'clock, Gary, you said Max Melbourne was Lincoln City's first choice left back. Just give us an idea why, because of course we haven't seen much of him so far this season.
Yeah, I think that he's probably our only dedicated left back, and that certainly puts him in good stead for being first choice. Theo Eden, I believe, is a central midfielder, certainly in his own mind. I know Michael likes him at left back, but he's had a tough time against some players of late on the left flank. Sean Rowan, we've just said, he's a centre back. He does really well at left back. But Max Melbourne is a left back. Now, here's another versatile player because he likes to play on the left side of central defence as well. Max's best game for me, or one of his best games for me, actually came on what I think was his debut against Blackpool way back in January, but it seems a lot longer now. He was excellent that day, getting forward, kind of playing the Harry Toffolo role, the overlapping in an attacking sense. I think he's got that in him as well. I think he may even be a little bit more attacking than Theo Eden and a little bit more attacking than Rowan. And Rowan's delivery has been brilliant, by the way, from the left flank. But I just think that, you know, when you're putting square pegs in square holes, you're talking Max Melbourne at left back, Sean Rowan at left centre back and Theo Eden in central midfield, which is what we've got today.
Steve Tyndall says, great programme, fantastic to reflect on how far we've come that Forest Green match and being almost 12 points behind them in the National League to now being top-ranked team in the FA Cup draw and having to postpone a match because of players on an international call-up. Yeah, really good point, Steve. Not to mention a couple of league titles, cup run, fantastic highlights today. Wembley Trophy fan base, amazing progress. Gary, we need afternoons like this, don't we, even pre-match, just to remind ourselves how far this club has come over the past few years.
Yeah, it's actually been quite nice. When I look down the running order, I didn't expect it quite to get me as much as it has. I think sometimes there's a danger with football fans that when something is just 1 season, 2 seasons old, You don't want to look back because you think, oh, we've got to look forward, we've got to progress. And then there becomes a threshold where actually now it's all right to get nostalgic about that time. It's all right to look back and go, how well did we do? You don't want to end up living in the past. You don't want to end up saying winning the European Cup in 1979 and still talking about it in 2020. But just to remind yourself where you've come from, certainly when you're still on the same journey, because we very much are. We're still very much in the ascendancy. We're in a new era, but it's an era that's carried on that trajectory. So it is just really nice to actually remind ourselves what this football club's all about. Never more so than when we're being forced to stay away from the LNER Stadium as well.
Yeah, talking of the LNER Stadium, seeing some really nice pictures pitch side as well. Pitch itself looks in great nick there, doesn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I looking at that, I miss the place. The pitch looks in great nick. I could just imagine being in the stands there now, a little bit nippy, getting the warm drink, getting the warmth from people who are sat around you. And I actually quite like the winter games more than the summer games. For me, it epitomises football more. The dredging out the stadium at 5 when it's already dark, the treacherous walk across the Stacey West car park. They're all little things that I miss terribly. I'll be there with my old man now, looking forward to as Laurie said, a free hit. It's a free hit for us just as much as it is them. And we can talk about football all we want, Sam. We're talking about 50% of football because the other half of it, unfortunately, at the moment is missing, and that's the supporters in the stands.
Yeah, here, Gary. Very well said indeed. Fingers crossed. I know I've said it quite a lot on this show over the course of the season, but fingers crossed indeed at some stage of this season we do see fans returning to the LNER Stadium. Great to hear the thoughts of Gary Hutchinson as ever. No game, of course, against Gillingham next week, but Gary, much appreciated for your time and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Sam.
That's Gary Hutchinson, of course, the StaceyWest.net, all things Lincoln City and, of course, League One football and EFL football as a whole to be viewed there. There isn't there, a lot of things going on in the world at the moment, but one thing is for certain, this country will always remember, always honour its heroes, its fallen as well. We shall remember them. Take a look at this. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Bye for now.
They shall not grow old.
As we that are left grow old.
Age shall not weary them.
Nor the years condemn.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning.
We will remember them.